Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker, and you are listening to episode 280 of the podcast. Unless you're joining live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, assuming we're not kicked off of any one of those platforms this week. Today is Sunday, March the 27th. For all those keeping track, we're coming off of one championship, 1X. We're coming off of UFC, ESPN 33, UFC Columbus, however you're calling it. However you identify with your card titles. Before we get into any of that, let me introduce my special guest co-host for the week, coming all the way from the crag cake state of Maryland, the rap god of MMA Twitter, Tavon Anthony. Tavon, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. Rap god? Oh no! Don't say that. Don't say that to Bryce Mitchell or to Bryan Keller. Don't say it to those guys.
You know what? I'll say it to them. Because here's you, and then here's everybody else rapping about MMA.
Hey man, you're too kind.
So you and I have interacted for some time on social media, Twitter. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's a decade. I don't know. Twitter time is like it's kind of like in its own dimension. But this is the first time we've ever actually spoken face to face, so to speak.
Yeah, man. This is pretty cool.
So welcome on. You and I have bonded over a couple of things, mostly MMA. I happen to be a musician myself. I played bass guitar in bands in college and stuff like that because everybody needed a bassist, and I wanted to do something cool that gets you free beer.
That was essentially me in high school and college. Yeah, like people found out I played guitar and bass and were like, "Hey, you!" I'm like, "All right, let's go."
Yeah, leave the guitar there. We're good. Bring the bass over. And then you're a martial artist as well, mostly Muay Thai. Give me a little on your full spectrum of martial arts history.
Full spectrum. Well, I did Taekwondo as a kid. That only lasted for so long because my mother, she put me in there. She knew I liked martial arts, but then she thought I enjoyed basketball more. And they're like, no, that's not it. I just like hanging with my friends. They like basketball. I like this, but she took me out of that. And then I got back into martial arts in 2016. It was on and off for me, mainly because I still had friends that trained. I had friends that did jiu-jitsu. I had friends that wrestled. I had friends that did kung fu, karate, and I would always move around with them. So that's what kind of kept like my interest there. And then I had a couple of friends I went to high school with that were pursuing MMA careers. They've stopped now. One of them had a moment in the cage. I could talk about it. He hates it when I talk about it, but he
those are the best stories.
Oh my gosh, like he hates it when I talk about it, so I'll keep his name out, but some people know it. He apparently talked so much crap about this one fighter, and then he got kicked in the stomach and he hurled everywhere in the cage. And it was really ridiculous because I was there and I didn't know I was the only one there that was like, yeah, I'm for this guy, because I had no idea he talked all that crap. And I was sitting in the section of the other guys like gym. Like I was just sitting there. I'm like, why y'all looking at me so funny? Wait a second. But yeah, no, like guys like him, he was still a cool dude though, like to me at least. But I would work out with him often. And I was like, no, I really want to get back into this like as much as I can. And that's when I went to Beta Academy in Washington, D.C. And yeah, that was all she wrote. That was, you can't stop me now.
Yeah. Well, I see you getting to work in on social media now, like getting the heavy bag work in when you can. It's important. You gotta stay sharp, however you can.
Yeah, and then you gotta. The reason why like I get on the bag as much as I can now is because once I moved from DC, I'm in Baltimore now, based in Baltimore. And I took a little bit of time away from the gym. Impact. If you don't do that, like it's like the first thing you kick, it's like the biggest shock to your system. It's insane because I went back to visit the guys. And I did a workout, and they're like, all right, we're going to hit pads today. We're going to do, I don't know how many kicks. I'm like, okay, cool, but we're supposed to be focusing on power or whatever. And I kicked the first time. I'm like, huh, that's
This
fun.
feels different.
I was like, all right, let's do this again. Bang. Oh, I used to do this every day.
Yeah.
So,
And it's a weird thing with like the shin calluses where they'll kind of like they'll always be there, but they'll kind of wear off. It's similar to playing guitar with the, if you don't pick up the guitar for a few weeks or whatever, like those strings will hurt a little bit.
yeah, it'll definitely get you because I'm playing bass for a metal band now, and because I hadn't played bass primarily in a long time. And even then, like I'll practice with the guys, we'll do a show, and then I'll just sit it down because I'm mainly playing guitar and recording with that. But when I pick up the bass, I'm like, oh, I get blisters again. Why do I get blisters? It's great.
Now for a metal band, do you play finger style with the bass still, or you use a pick?
I do both. It really depends. Like if like the last show I played with them, it was just horrendously cold outside. So by the time we got in the venue and I got there like right before we were supposed to perform, so I'm like, nah, just give me the pick. I'm not gonna be fast enough. But other than that, normally I'm just playing finger style. And the reason I play finger style for metal is because one of my favorite bass players when I was growing up, he played. Because I haven't listened to them in a while. It was a metal band called Galnerius. They are like power metal. And I just saw him playing with all four fingers the entire time. I'm like, this guy is insane. I like that. So I really wanted to do it. So
were they like one of these like Norwegian metal bands or from like somewhere
obscure? So they're from Japan, but the style was very, very European. It was something else. Now, granted, I do love bands like Opeth, Camelot, stuff and groups like that. Anytime they come around this area, I'm seeing them. So
well, speaking of music and being in bands, I hate to start the show off with a bummer, but something I wanted to talk about because I happen to be a big Foo Fighters fan, and I heard the news of their drummer Taylor Hawkins passing away at just 50 years old. I mean, the guy was like a superstar. He's in probably the biggest rock band going right now, as far as like traditional rock bands.
Yeah.
And 50 years old, man, just and I don't know what the cause was. It seems like nobody really knows, but you get into much Foo Fighters yourself?
I definitely listen to Foo Fighters. I can't sit down and say that I've listened to an entire album at any point in my life, but I've heard many songs. And well, first of all, I was always a big fan of Dave Grohl anyway. So
yeah,
anything that he does, like I was like, okay, I like him. So Foo Fighters. Oh, okay, cool. Wait, these guys freaking rock. So anytime they were on the radio, anytime I heard them in any playlist, I always have a good time.
They just kind of have that vibe where like they kind of make you stop and listen. Like if it just kind of comes up, maybe it's not like on the forefront of your mind to seek them out and listen to them, but like they have like that sound that just kind of draws you in.
Dude, big drums, high energy, and then first of all, they're very eclectic. They can do whatever they want to do, and that's what draws me to the band like itself. Also, they're just very freaking hard working. If you look at it, they're very hard working. But yeah, man, rest in peace to that man. That is very young. That is very young. And like just looking at human life, I know not everybody sees 100 years. They don't. But when you look at 50, especially just so abruptly, that's not an old age, man. That is not. So
especially 50 today.
Yeah.
With like what we know about nutrition and fitness and everything else. But yeah, such a bummer, man, because he was just like such a vibrant dude. Like he was like you hear him talking, like you feel like you know him, like you're friends with him. He just had that kind of energy. He was also the drummer for Alanis Morissette for a long time, her touring drummer. I don't know if that's a little known fact or not, but I think Dave Grohl wound up stealing him from her. Quick story. The first time I ever experienced Taylor Hawkins and his drumming was Dave Grohl used to do these drop-in acoustic sets on the Craig Kilborn show. I don't know if you remember that show. I think I'm definitely dating myself here, but a lot of people listening are like, who's Craig Kilborn? So Craig Kilborn would be the guy who came after the show that came after the Late Show. So it would be like Jay Leno, and then it was like Conan O'Brien, and then it's like, all right, for all you people with insomnia, here's Craig Kilborn. And I guess Dave Grohl was buddies with him. He used to just drop in and just do acoustic sets of whatever. He would do like an Elton John song to close the show, and one time he did Stairway to Heaven, and it's just him with an acoustic guitar and Taylor sitting behind him.
So funny thing that I know exactly what moment you're talking about, and that was my first experience as well. Like,
oh, really?
Yes, no, dead serious. Because I'm sitting here like, what the heck is going on here? Because you could tell they were kind of fooling around with it, but they were having so much fun, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I tuned in like right after they started, so I don't know what was going on. I had to have been tired because I didn't know who they were at the time. Like, I was just looking like, who are these guys up here acting a fool and like kind of just killing this right now? And I'm like, wait a minute, that was Dave Grohl. And then I'm like, wait, sick drummer.
Dave Grohl is the kind of guy who kind of grew into his looks. Like, he's like a handsome, like, 50-something-year-old now, but he was kind of like gangly, goofy looking like early on. But here they are doing this acoustic set, and he's totally goofing around. Like he's hitting like high notes and making them sound funny on purpose. And Taylor's just kind of sitting there.
Yep.
Until like towards the end when the drums come in. He's got a snare, a bass drum, and a hi-hat, I think. And I was just blown away with the sound he was able to put out with just like a very minimal kit. Like it was almost like an afterthought, like, oh, hey, let's just have a drummer in on this acoustic set. And I remember like Dave, like the drums came in like right at the crescendo of the song, like right before the solo comes in. And then Dave like kind of scats the solo.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what he did. That's what made it like so extra for me. That's why I was sitting here like, what the world is? Because I remember that was around the time, that wasn't the time that I was learning guitar, but that's when I was getting into certain styles of music, and Stairway to Heaven was one of my favorite songs at the time, specifically because of the guitar solo. So I'm like, this is an acoustic set, they're doing this. So is he about to like play the guitar solo like I don't know, Latin style or something? Because I heard a Latin version of it, and I loved it. So I was like, what is he about to do? And then he started scatting it. I was like, okay.
Like, this is ridiculous. This is corny. This is amazing.
Exactly. Exactly. The first thought is what? And then you're like, I'm into this.
Yeah.
I'm into this.
Like this sounds ridiculous, but he's nailing it.
Totally nailing it.
And I was like, man, these two are something special together. So like I was a fan ever since that. But those sets on the Craig Kilborn show were great. Like there was one time he was doing Tiny Dancer and he was just by himself, and you could tell he's reading the lyrics off a teleprompter, and he's just playing, and at one point he's like, oh my God, it just keeps going. Because there's like 40 verses to that song.
Yeah.
But if you guys are a fan of Dave Grohl or Foo Fighters or Taylor Hawkins or any of that, go. I'll share some of those videos on YouTube out on social media. But yeah, all right. So for those of you who have fast forwarded past to musicians being nostalgic here, we could talk about some MMA stuff. Let's get into the drama, I guess, with Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. This happened, I think it happened after the last show because I don't recall talking about it. So Colby's out at a steakhouse in Miami. He comes outside, and I guess a masked and hooded Jorge Masvidal sucker punches him twice and runs off. And it's amazing to me that social media is so divided on this because I guess Colby is just such a hated character. And I say character because, I mean, obviously.
We know.
Yeah.
Anyone that okay, there are two types of people that hate Colby Covington: marks and people who have like literally no idea what really is going on. like at all. And the difference, because, a Marc can be a person that's just, okay, they fallen for it. But
yeah,
no, they just fell for it. I know people that are like, I've heard about that Colby guy. And I'm like, yeah, you heard about it. You haven't watched anything. You don't really know anything about MMA news. And that's why you're mad at a guy that you don't even know.
Yeah.
But
bad motherfucker as far as a professional fighter.
Oh, 100%.
Black belt in getting under people's skin.
Yep.
And the main point I saw that people who are defending these actions by Masvidal were like, well, you shouldn't talk about people's kids. Now, I agree.
Yeah.
But I tune out a lot of the drama. So I kind of asked social media, I'm like, what exactly do you say about his kids? And the general response seemed to be that most of what he said was calling Masvidal a deadbeat dad. That I feel like is fair game. If you're attacking his character and his, like, it's still like gray area. Like, you shouldn't touch people's relationships with their kids, but like, he wanted to make it personal. He wanted to get under his skin. All right, fine. I didn't hear anything he said about Masvidal's children specifically, but maybe there was something like off record. Maybe when they were in the cage, he was like, oh, your daughter is this and this.
Like, yeah, if that's the case, then why don't you say what he said?
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
And my thing is, you had 25 minutes to beat up the guy legally. You couldn't do it. And not only that, I don't know if you're aware of this, Tavon, but Florida is what's called a mutual combat state. So if you and I see each other on the street and I say, hey, let's fight, and you say, okay, we can legally beat the piss out of each other right in front of
no one goes to jail. Yeah,
nobody goes to jail. So he could have waited for him outside of the steakhouse and said, like, all right, bitch, let's finish this. But instead, he had a disguise and a sucker punch. And some people are still yelling online, like, well, the streets be like that. But
it's like now you caught a charge. It's like, that's not. Here's my thing. All right, so I was fortunate. I have just a little background about me. Like, I have two older brothers that they were gangster because they had to be. They are. If you see them now, you're like, these guys? They're like the daddest men on the planet. Like Max Holloway, like houses, picket fences, and everything. It's just like, yeah. But growing up, they had a significantly different life than I had, which is why I call myself hood adjacent. I never grew up in the hood. None of that. But I was around it. I grew up in Southeast DC. I know how the streets be. I know. But here's the truth of the matter. Jorge is from the streets. Yes. You're a millionaire, dude. You also have people around you. I'm pretty sure you have friends, advisors. It's not like you don't know the laws of your state. You have so much information coming at you. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to jeopardize anything of mine. Just because I want to, prove a point. I get it. You might be upset. But like you said, he literally could have just went like, so you want to handle this out here? If you want to do it that way, you had to run up and sneak the guy, which it's like, I see both sides, but I just don't see the sense. That's not, I wouldn't have went about it that way. Like, I got people that if I see them, I'm probably going to do something, but I'm probably going to say, hey, what's good? Like, either that, let's do it here, or let's go to the gym. Like, let's figure this out. But yeah, I'm not doing that. And you're supposed to be the baddest man. Like, if you the baddest mother effer, why are you sneaking guys? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I have a hard time justifying it. Like, I'm a fan of Masvidal. I'm a fan of Covington as a fighter. Like, as far as whatever they do outside, like they both have like their political agendas and like their characters. Because like Masvidal has become a bit of a character himself. Like he used to be like the quiet, like get your lunchbox and go to work kind of fighter that would just get in there and be gritty, like wouldn't really say much of anything. And now he's become, he transformed into the street Jesus.
He realized something had to change. He realized something had to change to get what he wanted. and now he's got what he wanted. And look, everything that reaches a certain point, everything that goes up must come down at some point, and this might be a part of the come down. Like,
yeah,
it's
and for everyone defending him on social media, like, oh well, Colby doesn't understand the streets. He shouldn't have said this and that. Like, all right, but you're not going to be doing 15 years potentially.
Yeah, like, no, dude.
And if he's that concerned about his kids for the fact that you can't say anything about them, now he's not going to see them for like a decade.
Exactly. I'm like, dude, this is not the same as, say, the Cain Velasquez scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Cain did what most men outwardly say they would do. Mm-hmm. Like, exactly, right? He actually went and did it. This is a scenario where you had plenty of other options. Like, now, granted, it's like, did Cain have another option? Yes. But Masvidal specifically had, he could have said something back. You're basically telling me, like, you lost a fight in the cage, a legal fight.
Mm-hmm.
You're pissed about that. And your butt hurt. Like, yeah, okay, the dude talked about you. If he said something specific about your kids, I almost feel like he could have contacted that man and they could have came to some other type of, situation outside of that. I feel like they could have. I really do. I just don't see the point. I don't see the point in running up on somebody who's enjoying their day and doing that. Because it's like, okay, the streets be like that. Okay, do you understand how violence works? Like, Colby did the legal thing, which is, all right, screw this. I'm just going to press charges. Some people calling him a wuss because of that, this, that, and the other. Okay, would you rather that happen and we try to bring this to a halt, or would you rather him do dirty stuff too, and then it escalates and escalates and escalates? Because that's how the streets work. The stuff doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So,
then weapons start getting involved, and
and I don't want to hear anything about that. It's like, why are you rewarding people or like trying to defend fighters who do this for a living? Like, if you want to go to war, go to war. Go ahead, sign up for the military. Get your ass out there if you want to just run fade. But and even then, you still ain't doing that on your command. But I just feel like if I get paid to do something, I'm not going to go outside and do it for free. That's one.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm the type of fan, like, I watch this as a martial artist, like, for the art of it. I never am watching a fight and thinking like, oh, I hope this guy gets hurt.
Yeah, no.
I hope this guy gets knocked out. Even there was a guy who used to be in the UFC named Greg Hardy, and a lot of people had felt certain kinds of ways about him. And now that he's not in the UFC anymore, I'll mention his name. My way of like showing my disgust with it was just to never mention his name. I would actually skip over any fights he had, like, while doing this show, and just not talk about it because of his history with domestic violence and things like that. But I would never think like, oh, I hope they put him in there with Derek Lewis and he gets knocked out. I hope that, like, these opportunities just go away for him. Like, that's my hope. I never watch MMA hoping to see somebody get hurt. And I realize that's part of the appeal for a lot of people. Like, people want to see the gushing blood and, like, the broken limbs, and, like, there's a possibility of seeing something extraordinary every time you watch the sport, which is what makes it exciting. But as far as, like, wishing harm on someone in or out of the cage, it's never been about that for me. I have a feeling you're on the same page, but
I'm definitely on the same page. I don't think I've ever watched a fight and really hoped somebody was gonna, I never hoped anyone was gonna get hurt. I don't wish harm on people. I don't do that. I just don't. Anybody that gets in that ring or the cage, I don't have to agree with your lifestyle. I don't have to respect you, but I will respect the cage. You're in there, do your job. That's it. But like, even with the Greg Hardy scenario, I was a bit of the same. Like, I mean, even with the raps, like, I'd rap about his fight, get it going, but I never really wanted to focus on him. It's like, okay, you look at his history. especially when he first came in. They're like, oh yeah, he did what he did. Now he's here. He's trying to make an honest living. Whatever. It's like, okay, cool. I don't have to be invested that way. If the man want to fight, he want to fight. Cool. But
yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if he like did some time, but he was convicted and then acquitted.
You essentially
acquitted after, which says like somebody was paid off or somebody was threatened. Like that's
one of the two.
It's one of the two. But let's get off the negative stuff.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about your raps because you've gained some popularity on Twitter specifically for doing these prediction raps where you have a backing track and you somehow rhyme the name of every fighter with something and actually make really good predictions that are well thought out. And like you're justifying how you came to your decisions through music, which is mind blowing to me. So my first question is, how long does it take you to put together one of these? Because I imagine you have, linguistic skills to kind of, put the wording together. But as far as like diving into the card and like deciding who you're going to have, who you're going to predict as the winner, how long does it take for it to come full circle?
Full circle. Well, normally it's around, I'm looking at fighters all the time, but it's about around fight week where I start making decisions like, okay, who do I think will win and why? This is this person's strength. This is their weakness, but this is something I've seen change in the past 3 fights, whatever, I'll do that. But when it comes to specifically the music, and then when I start writing, I'll make nowadays, because I try to keep myself a little more structured, I'll make the beat or I'll make the music like the night before I decide to start rapping. I won't really write a lyric specifically until let's put it this way. If I drop the video like a couple hours before the card, I probably wrote it that day. I probably woke up and said, all right, Mike, let's go.
Here I am thinking like the fight gets announced and you're already like, all right, it's 3 months out. Let me see. What rhymes with Volkov?
Oh man, dude. The funny thing, the first couple of videos I've done where I was predicting them, I made the beat and did the lyrics in like an hour. And that was because it was just an idea. I was just filling out something. I'm like, all right, well, maybe people will like it. I think, we can have fun with this, So let's see what happens. Put together a little beat. And then I'm like, okay, I would write a couple of, actually the first video in general, it was really just notes I just had on my phone. Like, okay, this person wins, say something about this. And I was just looking like, I think whatever. Yeah, who you got? Oh, this. And it was just notes, really. But nowadays, I'll write the lyrics probably either the day of, if the video comes out close to the card, or I'll do it the night before. So
awesome. Well, if you guys haven't heard any of Tavon's MMA raps, you have to check them out. Is it, I want to say Aeoxis?
You got it.
Did I?
You got it. yes, dude.
I'll drink to that.
Let me tell you something, man. Yeah, where's mine? I left mine downstairs. Dude, funny thing. I was at a show the night before last night, and there was a guy that saw me perform at this convention called BlurredCon, and he came up to me and he was like, yo, you're Aeoxis, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy. Yeah, totally. I was like, all right. And then his friend came around, nah, that's Aeoxis. I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, that's correct. You know what? Follow me on social media. Let's
yeah.
That was funny.
So can you spell it for the folks?
Aeoxis. So yeah,
definitely follow the man and listen to his prediction raps. Here's my next question. Have you ever altered a prediction because it would make the rap better? Like you thought one guy was going to win, but it's like, it would flow better if I just like picked him instead.
I thought about it. one time. It it was a specific fighter. It was a specific fighter, but he had like a very strange name. I'll get it to you when I can, because I'll just look at like my old. I actually have a notebook where I keep most of the lyrics that I write down if I decide to write them. And I'm pretty sure it's in there. But no, I haven't done it, but I thought about it. I've definitely thought about it. I'm like, oh,
okay.
this line would sound so dope, and then I'm like,
I've wondered that. I wondered, like, is this really what he thinks, or does it just make it flow better?
Because here's my thing: if I pick something specifically because it flows better, and then that guy gets flatlined, I'm gonna be upset with myself, and I don't want to be upset with myself.
Because not only are you super creative with these things, but your predictions are usually pretty good.
Pretty
like
okay.
you
I've had some bad nights, but
well, haven't we all?
Yeah.
I personally don't gamble on MMA, because if I put money on somebody, they're guaranteed to lose.
Yeah, I don't gamble much in general, especially not on fights, because I'm like, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Funny story. I remember when, and I'll make this one quick. I remember when McGregor was about to fight Khabib, and my older brother, who's never bet on an MMA fight in his life, but he is a betting man. He calls me and he's like, look, I'm about to put the house on Conor. I was like, listen, I love you.
But I don't want you to move in with me.
Essentially, I was like, unless you're willing to lose that house, I don't think you should do that.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was like, that's your boy. I was like, yeah, but you don't know who that other guy is. Now, we know Conor's a master of putting the bar high and somehow knocking it out the park. But I don't think that's what's going to happen this time.
Yeah. Yeah. You did your brother a favor there. I get people that text me all the time. I have buddies who are big gamblers but don't watch MMA, and they'll be like, hey, I just put, whatever on this guy. What do you think? And I'm like, I think you just lost your money. Because but sometimes they actually make money, because guys who are good at gambling, they're good at just like looking at the spread, looking at the numbers, and just, I don't know. To me, it's like watching somebody solve a Rubik's Cube in 5 seconds. Like I could fumble with the thing for a day and a half and not even get one side complete.
And
like
then you see that one guy that's not even looking at it.
Oh yeah. And it's like, oh, it's an algorithm. Like, all right. But I go to my buddy Dan Tom. I don't know if you know Dan. He's worked for MMA Junkie, and he's been on this show a couple of times. He's just like good with the betting. He's like, and you got to hedge here and you got to sprinkle here. And I listen to him talk and I'm like, yeah, I could be a millionaire. And then I completely forget everything he said. And I'm like, no, look, I can't.
Pro gambling is a whole nother ball game, man. A whole nother ball game.
Last thing, we have a question from one of the live listeners, Marc Fellows, who joins us all the way from down under in Australia. Is rapping harder when the card is full of those tricky Eastern European names? And I noticed you didn't do one last week, and I was kind of wondering. This card is.
No, I actually wanted to. I'll be completely honest with what happened, especially for the last couple weeks, and I won't stick on it too long. Just went through a little bit of a depressive phase. That's just what happened. I had to start sitting back on a couple of things, but no, I'll be back. But to answer that question, no, that makes it more fun for me. That makes it way more fun. Like, the only time it gets harder is if, like, it's the reason I've never done a ONE FC card. It's because when you start bringing in Thai names and stuff like that, that's when I'm like, oh no. But no, like most of the European names, Dagestani names and stuff like that, like I love it. I'm like, oh, I could definitely do that, because instead of just finding one word to like rhyme with like Nurmagomedov, you can put together a whole sentence that rhymes with that. Like that ends up with that. So it's like, no, this is good.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's your answer. We got frequent listener here, Bruce Bob Trotter, who says Daukaus be running back to the cops, begging for his job back ASAP. He's more used to fighting with guns, more comfortable for him that way.
Come on, don't do him like that. Don't do him like that. Listen, he's a good fighter, but he needs to be a middleweight. I'm joking. But,
I mean, yeah, maybe not a middleweight, maybe
light heavyweight. Light heavyweight. Look, he has fast hands for the heavyweight division. He has fast hands for the heavyweight divisions. But when you start facing these hammers, like look at the guys he's losing to, man. Curtis Blaydes, Derek Lewis, like these are top of the food chain dudes, man. Like so it sometimes you're in the right division at the wrong time. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah, and heavyweight is one of those divisions. Like, there's a reason the longest title streak is 3.
Yeah,
like it's just like everybody has that power.
Yeah, error is not your friend, like at all. At all. Anybody can knock you to high heaven. So now, granted, I probably wouldn't have predicted a TKO by Curtis Blaydes, or if I would have, it would have been like, oh, he took him down and ground and pounded him TKO straight up like that in the beginning, right? But hey, look, we got a different fellow here. But also, this is how I'm looking at it as well. Curtis Blaydes, for people to not like his style, I don't understand why people don't like him. This guy will fight anybody. He fought Francis twice and darn near wants to do it again. So it's like, he's like, I'm ready to go. That's not a guy that you really want to just go up in there and think you're going to run through. Like you're not gonna, unless you have Derek Lewis power, unless you have Francis power, and you still got to hit him on the button.
Yeah, I can tell you why people don't like him, because it's not about being a bad dude. It's not about getting the finishes. One, he's stigmatized as a wrestler, so that automatically works against you. Two, he's not great on the microphone. He's got, the stuttering is not doing him any favors. And he just doesn't have that personality that people connect with. I love Curtis Blaydes because I love wrestlers. Two, I don't care what you do on the microphone. But that's that. That's why he just doesn't click with the people.
Man, I really want people to like just get over that. Like for me, I remember I used to be kind of that way too, like, oh man, the wrestling, they're on the floor or whatever. But here's my whole thing. If something works, this is competition. This is competition. I don't care if I come in and for some odd reason, punching this guy on the shoulder knocks him halfway across the ring. If that's what I got to do to implement my game plan, that's what I'm going to do. I don't care how stupid people think it is. I don't care if I got to be like this, and then for some odd reason, it opens the guy up. If that's what I got to do, that's what I'm going to do. Wrestling works. If you don't like it, find a way to stop it.
Yeah.
What you going to do?
Yeah, I'm so much on the same page that I'm also against stand-ups, and I'm against referees breaking up clinch exchanges. I think they should just be there to keep it safe and not get involved.
Yeah, I mean, so stand-ups for me, I'm on and off the fence, mainly because if a person is wet blanketing a guy, but he really, and I mean he really is not progressing, no advancement in position, no nothing, then I'll be like, all right, well, you either have no idea what you are doing, or you got the takedown and now you're just in no man's land. Why'd you go for the takedown in the first place if you're not going to try to advance position? That's but that's it. But if it looks like nothing is going on, but I see this guy trying and the other guy's just not letting them, let them work. Let them work. Clinch breakups. I don't think you need to break up a clinch at all. Like at some point, something's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm huge on clinch. I think it should be allowed to go for a whole round if it has to. As far as like the guy on top not doing anything, I blame the guy on bottom just as much. Yeah. Like if you're too afraid to open up your guard and you're just because you feel like you're going to get your guard passed, Like, that's an issue. That's a glaring hole in your game. And also, you're just relying on the referee to come in and save you. Like, if we're trying to simulate an actual fight here, like, you'd have to do something to get up.
Yeah.
So that's where I am with that. And it's funny. I usually don't have the commentary on, and not because I dislike any of the commentators. I don't like being influenced, because I like to watch, just see the action, and then be able to come do the show the next day and just give my take on it. Because, even if it's subconsciously, if you're listening to the commentary, like, you're absorbing opinions. This was a card where, like, not by any fault of their own, not because DC and Bisping aren't great commentators, but the way the card played out and the interviews and everything just made them look foolish, because like, in this fight, they're like, well, Curtis is probably going to lull him into a boxing match, and then he's going to shoot for a takedown. Well, he didn't shoot for a takedown in the first, but he's definitely going to shoot for one in the second. It's coming. He's going to change levels. And Curtis was like, no, I'm good. But I would argue that he actually did win this fight with his wrestling, because Daukaus was not willing to get in the pocket, and he was swinging from way far out because he didn't want Curtis Blaydes to change levels and get under his hips. And the final sequence showed that, where he completely misses with the jab and then swings wild with the overhand, and Curtis just steps in and throws the right down the pipe. And, that's all she wrote.
Listen. Actually, I think, what is it? No, I know Chael Sonnen says this a lot. You want to know what's more powerful than the takedown? The threat of the takedown.
Yeah.
That if you come into a fight and that's the one thing on your mind, your striking is about to be limited, because you're like, okay, if I do anything, I'm now I'm insecure, I'm anxious, and now I have to fight like this. Well, you just made the other guy's job so much easier. You're scared. So no, he's going to fight a regular fight, and you're fighting a compromise fight. And that's exactly what happened. I'm like, oh God, this is not going to go well. Which is funny, because I'm like, well, some people were trying to bring up the fact that, Chris is good on the ground. He's a good jiu-jitsu player, right? But at the same time, I'm like, this is heavyweight, and it's not for nothing. When you got a good wrestler, position sometimes doesn't. Position over submission will keep him out of a lot of trouble. So it's like, that's not where he wants to go. That's not where
it's not like Curtis has no jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a jiu-jitsu coach one time who said that, like, if you have collegiate wrestling, you're pretty much automatically a blue belt. And I think that's fair. I mean, we saw Ed Ruth, like, he got his blue belt and he was going to jiu-jitsu tournaments and just smashing dudes, like, in the gi and everything. But yeah, Daukaus is, he's a black belt, but like you said, this is heavyweight. How many heavyweights are good off their back? I mean, you can probably count on one hand. You had like Verdum, Nogueira, Frank Mir.
Frank Mir, until Brock Lesnar put his chest on him.
Yeah. I mean,
now you got 280 pounds on you. What you going to do?
Yeah. Blue belt Brock Lesnar at that. So to show how little jiu-jitsu means at heavyweight. But yeah, you have those handful of guys who were like real technicians. I would put Stefan Struve in there too. He had a few submissions off his back. Those, like, his legs are taller than me. Yeah,
you can get away with that when you have limbs that long. You can.
But yeah, even Daukaus's camp, the game plan, they were like, oh yeah, well, we've been working submissions off our back. We've been working, our get-ups from the bottom, and, we know we're going to get taken down. Like, did you know Curtis Blaydes had hands?
Yeah, probably not.
Like, why is this not common knowledge yet?
Oh, you're a kickboxer now. It's like, you can't forget that. Like, it's like, I get it. Like, people see him, they see him wrestle, they see that's how he can dominate most folk. But if you completely take out the idea that this man can actually hit you if he wanted to, he's not They're acting like he just came from the Olympics and never put on a boxing glove a day of his life and just walked in the cage. Like, nah, that's not who that is. This is an athlete, and he is a well-rounded mixed martial artist. Period.
Yeah.
So I think if that was their game plan, like they compromised their fighter. Like that's what happens. A camp isn't just about, trying to sharpen skills or get you conditioned physically. It's like whatever you're working on, that messes with your mental as well. Like if you're specifically, okay, we're working on takedown defense, we're working on getting up off our back, and we're going to keep on drilling, getting up off our back. Now you're telling your fighter that this is going to happen. And this is mainly the only thing you need to focus on, because oh no, everything else is going to be fine. Everything else is cool, but this is what you need to focus on. So now that's where your mind is. You walk in that cage. I'm going to get taken down, so let me just stay out here. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and to bring up the Conor and Khabib fight, like Conor came in with a completely different body type. He was a lot thicker. You could tell he was doing a lot of grappling, but then on the feet, Khabib dropped him with the hands because he wasn't focused on his game. And that's where, guys get in trouble. Same thing, same example, Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen. Anderson thought Chael was going to take him down right away. He drops him. I think he was in the first round with a left hand. And, that's just the way it goes sometimes. So as far as what's next for these guys, obviously, Daukaus is still a top heavyweight. He's not going to be a main event again anytime soon, but they'll build him back up. I feel like they're invested in those boys, the Daukaus brothers. But now we have heavyweight, which was a division that kind of seemed like it was drying up, after DC left, and there's nobody to fight in Ngannou, and like, let's push this rivalry with Cyril Gane, but really there's nobody. Now we've got Tai Tuivasa, who Marc is asking who should fight him for the interim title shot. We've got Cyril Gane still lurking in there. Now we've got Tom Aspinall. Curtis Blaydes is relevant again. Unfortunately, I don't think you could put Blaydes in the title picture until Ngannou's not the champ anymore. And Stipe, I don't know. This was the other awkward thing with DC last night, how he was trying to set up a fight between Blaydes and Stipe, and I think that was kind of pushed by the production truck, where he was like, "Hey Curtis, Stipe is here," and then he's like, he was right here. Oh, he's over there," and his back is to the cage. He's taking pictures of fans, like trying to build some heat. And then Curtis is like, "Stipe, I respect you so much. I might have to fight you, but you're one of the best ever." And it was just a total failed attempt at trying to put that fight together.
You can't, but see, with certain fighters, with certain people, you can't put that type of spotlight on them, because it's not going to go your way. It's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. Not everybody. First of all, DC should have known that. DC is one of those people you can put the spotlight on and he'll make it happen. He could do that. Curtis ain't the person to do that. You can't even if Stipe was in the ring, that isn't the guy you do that with. Even with him, it's like, all right, Stipe, who you want next? You know what it is. I'm just gonna okay. Whoever.
Garble.
Yeah. Do you remember that interview where you didn't understand a word he was saying? It was.
You mean everyone he's done?
There was one in particular. They were like, "So how do you feel?" I was like, "Yo, he is on a high. I don't think he even knows what he's saying right now."
Yeah. Like if the Flintstones had their own language, Stipe would speak.
It would be. Oh no! Oh my gosh!
And I love Stipe, but and here's what I wonder, because he's a firefighter, just became a full-time firefighter now. I think he was doing it part-time earlier. Something I talked about on the show before. I was a volunteer firefighter for 7 years when I lived back in New York. Nice. It's really hard when you're inside a burning building to hear somebody talking on the walkie-talkie. So I can't imagine that he put Stipe in a position where he needs to be communicating over the radio, because hearing somebody on the walkie-talkie in your fire gear, and you've got a respirator on and everything's going on around you, it sounds like a subway conductor already.
Oh,
and then
man.
like add, or maybe it's the opposite where like Stipe's garbling and like the transmission signals and everything makes it come through clearer. Maybe that.
Oh no. they set it at a certain frequency and somehow he sounds just clear as day.
We got Stipe in there. Turn to channel 8.
that would be a hell of a situation. You're in here, god dang, it's a fire. Which way do I go?
Yeah. And then like Stipe is in there to save your life, and he's like trying to tell you how to get out, and you're like, what? It's hot. Where do I go? Just point.
Yeah, at that point, no, don't give me points. Have like pull out your phone, show it to me, you know. I don't know, man. That'll be crazy. But yeah, like I don't know what they're gonna do like with Curtis Blaydes versus Stipe Miocic. I mean, I'd like to see it, but yeah, that was the wrong time to try to push that fight.
Well, if they're fighting tomorrow, though, who you got?
Curtis Blaydes, Stipe Miocic. Oh, it's kind of hard to choose who I got.
It's a tough one. They've got like very similar styles.
Very similar styles. And then it's not like, I think for real, I think that would be all
right, here's maybe think about that. Here's maybe an easier one. If you have to do so, Ngannou's not going to fight until next year. He's already kind of stated that he's going to have a surgery and he's just waiting out his contract, whatever else. They're going to have to do an interim title. Who are you putting in that spot?
In the interim spot? Well, I would. It's funny because I know some people were talking like Tuivasa should be in the interim position. I think so. I'd like to see it, but I also think that I love Tai Tuivasa, right?
Yeah.
I think he's an amazing personality, clearly hits like a truck. I think he can beat a lot of people. I don't know if he can beat everybody. I don't. But if I would put someone in there, I would say, hell, I put Ty and Curtis. I would, if Stipe doesn't want to get an interim shot.
I mean, Stipe doesn't seem like interested. Like he seems like he's like almost partly retired. Yeah,
Stipe has been very big on title or nothing, over the past few years. So it's I mean, hey, he seems like he doesn't look like a guy that, screws around with his money or anything like that. He might just be like, hey, either give me what I want or I really don't need it. So and good for him. He's accomplished everything he wanted to.
Yeah, so, I mean, top 5 heavyweight of all time.
Yeah,
I think easily. Yeah. I don't see how anybody could argue that.
No.
Yeah, all right, I'm okay with that. Are you just negating, like, forgetting the fact that John Jones is sitting at heavyweight right now? Technically,
I don't want to hear nothing about John Jones. I'm coming to heavyweight. Where you been, bro?
Yeah.
Oh, really? You're coming through. You look fat. Let me stop. You don't look fat. But it's just like, here was my thing. I remember one of my friends. He's done like silly videos and stuff with me. Shout out to my buddy Remy Tyndall. But he called me the next day and he said once he saw Francis take Cyril Khan down, he was like, I think Jones is retired. I was like, yo, first of all, hold your horses. Hold your horses on that. Like, I'm like, everybody was like losing their minds, just like DC was when he saw Francis moving like that. Oh my God, Francis is doing jujitsu. I'm like, did he really just say that live on air? I don't think Jones is coming. I don't think he's coming back unless somehow a couple of people just break unless like the entire top 5 has like a El Kukui incident before the last time he was supposed to fight Khabib. And then somehow Chris Daukaus becomes the heavyweight champion of the world. Jon Jones ain't coming in there. He's just not. He's not fighting Francis. He'd have fought him already, to be honest. I do believe that. He's not fighting Cyril Gane. He does not want that. Jon has a problem with guys his height. Well, he does, period.
The thing was, he gave up the only bargaining chip he had by turning in the light heavyweight championship. Like, that was a bonehead move. And then he's like, I'm going to heavyweight. And then he's like, and just does it. Like, gives up the title and then does it. Has no bargaining chip. And he's like, you guys got to pay me more. It's like, well, you signed this contract. Like, you were content with. Now you gave up your title. You moved up. This was never part of our business plan. Now you want more money to do something that we never even discussed.
You gave up the only thing that made you a draw, and you're not even that big of a draw. Like, Jon needs a dance partner. He's not a person that can sell out the arena by himself. You put Mike Tyson in there with a shoe, people are going to show up. You put Jon in there with a shoe, they're going to say, Jon, why are you in there with a shoe?
Yeah. What are you going to do with that shoe?
Are you going to put it on or? But I don't want to hear anything about Jon Jones until a contract is signed. Actually, not even until a contract is signed. I don't want to hear anything about him until I see that walkout.
Yeah.
Until he walks out and they're like, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm
in the same boat, and I maintain that he's the best ever. Like, given the strength of schedule and whatever what he's been able to do, but he might be amongst the worst ever at just staying out of his own way.
Listen, I think I posted this. I forgot if I did on Twitter or somewhere. I was like, well, of course, Jon is the greatest ever. He has to fight himself every day. So it's just
except the days he's fighting his ex-fiance.
There you go. There you go.
I'll just leave that one under my breath and we'll move on. All right.
I was like, bro, of all things. And then, first of all, here's my whole thing. No, I'm going to touch on it because when the video came out of him and the cops and everything, I was hoping that they were holding on to that footage. Not because I like the idea of police brutality. I was hoping they were holding on to that footage because when they said he assaulted the vehicle, he headbutted the vehicle, I was like, they're probably holding on to that footage because they probably slammed his head on the car because he was acting unruly. I don't know, right? But then I was like, all right, let me not just be one of those people that's, being angry at the cops for no reason. I've never been that guy. And I'm like, okay, something unfortunate might have happened. Cool. Watch the video. This dude's crying like a 12-year-old. And then acting like a 12-year-old, and then proceeds to headbutt a steel vehicle. Like, what are you doing, sir?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Make him fight Tom Aspinall. Jeez.
I would like to see that.
I really would. I would really like to see that one because Tom ain't going to give a damn. You see how he showed up against Volkov? That boy ran up in there. He ran up on Volkov like he was saying, "Put up your dukes every 5 seconds." I was like, this dude has no fear at all. No, nothing. The crowd means nothing right now. He never fought in front of a crowd. He ran at this dude like it was his lunch.
I didn't even care what the punchline was going to be. The way you giggled in the setup, it made the whole segment.
Dude, it was just like that didn't make any sense. When you got a guy that's got that much juice and he just has no fear and he's ready to go. No, that's the guy I want to fight Jon Jones. That is the guy.
Yeah.
Either him or go ahead and fight Francis. But you want what do you say, Deontay Wilder money to fight Francis? Well, I think anybody would say that. But also, I think that's your way of saying no.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna price yourself out, like that's an age-old technique. The cat's out of the bag. We all know what's good. Oh, I'm injured. Okay, you don't want to fight. Unfortunately, if you are actually injured, I don't wish that on anybody. But the biggest thing to do, price yourself out. Oh, they ain't paying me enough. Well, you signed this contract that says you're going to get this anyway, and you fought for this the last time. What's going on? Well, I'm taking a risk. Well, you threw away your belt, like you said. Like you threw away your belt, And now you're talking about you taking a risk. You took a risk every time you stepped in the cage.
Yeah. I just wish like a PR company could get a hold of John, put him in a bunker far away from alcohol and cocaine and Twitter, and just speak on his behalf and make sure he's training, like get him everything he needs, just training.
Yep.
And then just only bring him out on fight night. But then again, like you have to wonder if like the booze and cocaine and all this are what created this beast.
Him?
Like
yeah,
is that part of his essence? He just needs it. All right, we got to get through the rest of this card.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Aleksei Grasso, who is known as a striker, submits Joanne Wood with a rear naked choke in the first round. I thought this was a fun fight for as long as it lasted. You know, it was back and forth. Joanne Wood, obviously super legit Muay Thai. Grasso, a very competent striker as well. Did not see this one ending by submission. What did you think about this?
I thought the same. That was the last thing on my list. Like, to be honest with you, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. About to be a kickboxing match, and okay. Well, now that I know you can do that, I'm just wondering what she's going to do next. That's really what it is. Side note, isn't it funny that Joanne Wood, she went from Calderwood to Wood?
Yeah, I mean, you know, she just had to keep the wood in there.
All right, good night, everybody. I'm joking, but no, look, great fight.
That's a good woman.
Yeah. Yeah, no, great fight. Definitely great fight. Hey, look, when it comes to the women's flyweight division, it's kind of strange for me because I'm like, you got the champ and then you got everybody else. And then it's like, well, who's actually good here? And then you see fights like that. No, you got talent. You got talent. And it's just a division that it's still young. It's still young. And we're going to see who really is bringing the juice. We're going to see.
We're in a spot where Valentina Shevchenko is to the flyweight division what Tavon Anthony is to MMA rapping. There's just the champ, and then there's everybody else that does it.
Oh man, what do you think about just real quick? Let's then jump to the next fight. What do you think about Shevchenko versus Santos?
I mean,
I think it's going to be a strong first round, but then
it's like if it were anybody else, like any other champ who, you know, I think it was it Marvin Hagler who said it's hard to get up and run 6 miles when you wake up in silk sheets. Like and that's a real thing. That's a real phenomenon. Like, you've been the champ, you're living a comfortable lifestyle, you're a millionaire. Shevchenko is just, it's not about any of that to her. She's just a savage. She's going to come in shape. She's going to come in with every skill sharpened. Like, it's not like you're ever going to get a watered down version of her, which, you know, we may have gotten with Amanda Nunes.
Yeah. Which that was very confusing to me.
I mean, I get it. You know, she's, you know, a new parent and like just focused on other things. And like Pena should not have been a threat.
Pena should not have out-jabbed you.
Yeah.
Period. Period.
Well,
and that's not even me trying to be like throwing shade at Pena. It's just no. That even the way that was set up, you should not have been getting out-jabbed by this person. But yeah, no, I get it. I definitely get that. No, she's definitely a savage, but you gotta think about it as well. That Shevchenko's been living her best life well before she was the champion. Traveling, doing all this cool stuff already. So, and she's still doing the same stuff. So it's you got a cat that is the same person she was on the come up, and that's
better.
Yeah, and better.
Skilled.
Exactly. Which is very scary because it's not like she's a person that became the champ and then turned the gun on the company. Oh, I need this. Oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. Same cat. And now all of you have to deal with it. The entire division.
All right. Fight of the night in my book, Bryan Barberena, Matt Brown. This fight was just fucking wild. I know a lot of people wanted to see Matt Brown come away with this decision. He was the hometown guy. You know, he was looking for that knockout record. I thought he did great, but I thought the only round that was easy to score was the first, which I gave to Matt Brown. Yeah. And then 2 and 3, it's like, bing, flip a coin. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what happened. At the end of this fight, I was just like half standing. Oops. No. I was half standing, half sitting. Like, I didn't know. I didn't know who was going to win. But what a wild fight. Give me your thoughts, man.
Definitely close fight. You want to talk about who was landing at a higher percentage. A higher percentage was Matt, definitely. Man, I just not gonna lie. I was not thinking about I wasn't thinking about the takedowns. I wasn't thinking about that. And I'm like, Matt is really bringing it out. He is doing work. He is doing work today. So from my heart, I was like, I want Matt to win. And then when I got the decision, I'm like, oh, okay. No, I understand. I mean, close fight.
I could see making the argument for him winning. Like I definitely scored the first round for him. 2 and 3 were close. They were close. It looked like Matt was wearing more of the damage. He did look more tired in the third, but it didn't stop his output.
Oh, no. Did not stop his output at all. But I mean, Barberena, it just if I were to sit back and let's say I kind of squinted my eyes and watched the fight, I would say like Barberena, it's like, okay, this guy's outworking. He's outworking him. But damn, yeah, it's just like how do you score those final 2 rounds? Like no, go for it.
It's tough. It's tough. Like it was like 2 Tasmanian devils in there, and you're trying you're trying to keep track in your head. Like there's no way you're counting all the punches, all the elbows. You just got to look at like, all right, who looks more tired and who's more bloody? That was Matt Brown. And if you're going off of that, like,
yeah. Look, sometimes, hey, we don't know what in the world these judges are thinking. Sometimes we don't. So that could have been it. That really could have been it. And but really, that's one of those fights where if I had a friend over my house who never watched MMA before, that's a fight I would want him to see.
Oh, yeah, fight of the year contender already. I mean, we're only a quarter of the way through 2022. I sympathize a little more with the judges now too. I talked about on the show last week. I actually judged my first fight card.
Really?
Yeah, I was asked by the company who sponsors the show and makes my merchandise and everything like that. They were sponsoring a local amateur promotion, and they needed a judge. And he knew that I was knowledgeable about MMA. So it was an MMA, Muay Thai, and there were some kids kickboxing fights on there as well. So I had my first experience judging fights last week, and I got to say, I have a lot more respect for judges now, because it was like, I'm like this far from the cage. I'm watching intently, and I'm like, all right, this guy got a sweep, but this guy's landing more strikes, and I'm trying to keep track of everything for the whole round. And I'm like, and then at the end of the fight, I was judge number 1, which means the referee came to me first and was like, all right, give me your card. And I just have to add it up and like pass it through the cage. And I'm like, damn, this is stressful. I can't imagine if like half of somebody's money was on the line.
Oh man.
So it was like a whole new perspective for me. Like I feel like it's easy to criticize something if you've never done it. So now I've done it, and now I feel like I can be a little more critical and also a little more sympathetic. But yeah, if either one of these guys won this fight, I would have been like, okay, whatever you say.
Goodness.
Now I think the one that was a little bit more debated was Kai Kara France and Askar Askarov. How did you score this one?
No, I
Are you
had
on the
no.
fence?
No, I'm not on the fence. I actually agreed with the decision. It's I just think, what was it? I believe it was the final round where I feel like if Askarov did a little more in the final round, he could have secured that win. But I just feel like I don't want to say just let it slide or was waiting. There were just some spots where I'm like, he could have worked a little harder. That's all I'm gonna say. He could have worked a little harder. Maybe he was tired. I don't know. He wasn't tired. But
I think you and I saw it the same way. I gave the first round to Askarov because he had the back and that body triangle for most of the round. Kara-France, I think, clearly won the second. And the third was close, but I just felt like Kai Kara-France was trying a little bit harder.
Yep.
And it was just, that was the only thing that made me score the third for him, was that difference in effort. It wasn't like they both landed big shots in that round. They both were in advantageous positions, but I just felt like Askarov took his foot off the gas a little bit and Kara-France pressed it a little bit more. And it was, a slight degree of separation both ways. But yeah, I thought Kara-France did enough to get the decision, but I still think Askarov is a beast.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100% a beast. He's gonna continue to do work. It's it's just you can't let moments like that happen, because then you end up with a loss. Like it's like you're not gonna go your entire career steamrolling everyone. Like, you're not, unless you're Habib. But yeah, no, if you're ever in a fight where you're going to decision at this point, yeah, no, do something to where you can win over the judges, even if it's, if you want to pull, what some fighters do, where it's just like, well, even if I kind of coast through most of the round, at least for the last minute, I'm gonna get it in, because that's how some people steal rounds. They'll steal a round in a minute. So
yeah, and it was a weird night for the fact that, like, I don't want to say Askarov got tired, but let off the gas a little in that third round as a grappler. And then on the other side of the coin, I'll skip over to the Neil Magny fight for now. We saw Marc Diakiese, who is a striker.
And boy, did that man get a body lock, and he did not let go.
Ooh, grappled for 15 minutes straight. And this was another instance where the commentators looked a little silly, because they were like, oh, but this is going to tire him out. He's known for tiring out. Come to third round, he's still snatching those body locks and throwing Slava claws around like a rag doll.
The man did a backflip after it was done. I'm like, this guy.
He's like, what'd you say about gassing out? So
he probably heard it. He was like, huh? Oh, so y'all messed up. I'm about to get this dude. Dog, I didn't expect him to do well. I didn't expect that game plan at all. But yeah, no,
I was expecting a striking war and like probably somebody going to sleep. But it was a great game plan. It was effective. And now, if you fight Diakiese, not only do you have to worry about world-class striking, like, you got to worry about this guy's wrestling a little bit.
And he's strong, clearly strong as an ox. Like, now, great technique. Good technique too, but god dang, man, he put that.
I mean, the way he put his body in the right place and the way he was using leverage to get those takedowns, you would think this guy's been wrestling his whole life. Yeah. And usually people are not able to put that together later in life.
No,
I know, because I teach grown-ups how to wrestle, and it's just like something is not firing in the cerebellum or whatever is controlling your muscle movement.
Yeah, man,
I'm not a biologist.
It's nutty out there. So look, he's a problem. He's gonna be a big old problem. So, and now that he has that, that's what people are going to be thinking about. And if he fights someone, let's say, like, if he fights someone who is very dynamic of a striker, he can go to that at any point. Like, at any point. So.
Yeah, for sure. The fight I skipped over, Neil Magny, Max Griffin. I actually love this fight. And this was another one round 1 was clear for Max Griffin. Round 3 was clear for Neil Magny, who really turned it on at the end. Like he was just tossing Griffin all around that cage. Round 2 was like,
I don't know. Like,
yeah, like,
I don't
okay, split decision for Magny. If it was a split decision for Griffin, I would have been like, all right, I could see him.
I'd have just taken it.
Yeah, but it came down to that second round for me. What do you think?
Definitely came down to the second round. In the end, look, Max Griffin he was winded.
Yeah,
he was winded. So like once you start getting hit with those Magny jabs and your head starts snapping back, like it's like, oh God, please don't get TKO. That's all I was worried about. I'm like, that's not how I want this to go for this man.
I don't know why Magny jabs makes me laugh so much. It sounds like it sounds like a candy you would get at the movie theater.
Magny
or something.
Jabs.
Let me get a box of Magny jabs.
You should make a cocktail and call it that.
I think I will.
Would you like a Magny jab? What the hell is that? It's going to knock you back. Oh man, but yeah, no. Very good fight. Very good fight. Like you said, yeah, Max Griffin won that first round. So I had to go back and rewatch that fight as well because when I watched the first round, then I had to go downstairs and it was something dumb going on downstairs, like with my basically house problems. So I'm just like, crap, I got to fix this. And I come back up and we're on the third round and I'm like, Max is tired. Well, I hope he won the second because the first he looked really good. And then I went back and watched it and I'm like, oh yeah, no, when you're working like this, you're going to get tired. And I mean, Max has it's not like he has severe cardio issues, but he has shown in the past that he can get tired when it gets to that point. And when that fatigue comes in, he becomes just nowhere near the same guy. Like Max, when he starts, he's like, if I say, okay, I'm not going to rate him out of 10, but let's say his 10 when he starts, let's say he's at a 10. When he gets tired, he's at like a 6. He's at like a 6. So I'm like, well, Neil Magny isn't going to slow down like that. He's going to be the same guy for the most part, unless you're dealing with like a super heavy power puncher or like a grappler that knows how to box. That's the only time Magny really has problems.
Yeah.
So
and to me, this was a fight of like, I don't like the term journeyman, but like two guys who
they've been around.
They've fought the who's who. Like if you look, I just pulled up Max Griffin's resume here. He joined the UFC in 2016. Colby Covington was his first fight. All right. That's a rough go of it. But then you look at the names he's fought: Mike Perry, Curtis Millender, who I feel like was very underrated in his time in the UFC, Thiago Alves, Alex Morano, Alex Oliveira, Carlos Condit in his last fight. Like, and he's been hot and cold throughout, but still, pretty solid. And same for Neil Magny. Like this dude, like I have so much respect for Neil Magny. If you look at his last, just look at his last, 6 fights here. Only loss was to Michael Chiesa in a main event. And then you got Max Griffin, Jeff Neal, Robbie Lawler, Anthony Martin, Jingliang Lee. And then before that was the knockout loss to Ponzinibbio. But like, man, look who did Carlos Condit also, RDA, Johnny Hendricks, Lorenz Larkin, Hector Lombard, Kelvin Gastelum. Holy shit.
He has, isn't he like tied for like most wins in welterweight history?
Yeah.
Or like right behind George St. Pierre.
It's either tied. I think he tied it last night or he passed it. But like, I mean, he'll pass it. 34 years old. Like he's still got some miles in the tank.
Yeah, he ain't ancient.
Such an underrated dude. And here is my question when I was previewing this card last week. Like, who did Neil Magny piss off to get on the prelims? Not only on the prelims, but I was telling you before we started recording, I came in on the Kai Kara France fight, and I had to, after the card ended, I went back and rewatched everything else. So ESPN I love the way I always shit on ESPN Plus, but now, like, as soon as the card ends, you can go back and pick fight by fight, and they have them like kind of segmented out, like within a half hour of the card ending. But I had to go to show all and get like the full, like every card, because if you just go through like the little scroll tab, the Magny fight wasn't coming up. And I was like, I know Neil Magny fought on here. They had every other fight but his. You had to go to show all, and then you had to find it at the bottom. Here's a guy who 2 fights ago was fighting on a main event against Michael Chiesa, won his last fight after that, and now he's on the prelims. Like, can you explain this to me? Because I'm baffled.
I have no clue. It's like, yeah, you're right. Who in the world did he piss off?
Whose wife did he fuck?
Yeah. Hey, you're Neil Magny. I'll show you.
Yeah.
At that point,
Neil Magny to the get out of my wife and get on the prelims.
Like, dang, dude, you're that upset, huh?
But
oh man,
it is what it is. All right. Here's what I'm gonna do, and this is what I usually do for the sake of time. I'm just gonna run the results of the rest of the card, and you tell me what stands out to you the most. Sarah McMahon, unanimous decision over Carol Rosa. No surprise there. Chris Gutierrez with a beautiful spinning back fist.
My God.
Knockout of Bajrel Dana. And I love the way he threw the back fist, because most people hit with the actual back of the fist, which, you know, these bones here are some of the most fragile bones in the human body. What he did was hit with the butt of the fist, which you never really see people do. And I can't understand why, because this is a much stronger surface than this. For those of you only listening on audio, I'm pointing to the side of my fist and the back of my fist.
Yeah, you like a hammer fist.
Yeah, which that's how it should be done every time. Askar Kizarev submits Dennis Tululin in the second round with a rear naked choke. Just pretty dominant win there. And then
it was Dennis did okay. Dennis still did slightly better than I thought he was going to do. I did,
especially on short notice.
Yeah, like I thought he was going to get ran through. Like, I'm talking just completely steamrolled. But I mean, he showed up. He definitely showed up. I'll just shout out to that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see him back.
Yeah.
Kizriev, I want to see fight Khamzat Chimaev, especially since he said he's moving down to. Before he said he was moving down to welterweight, I just kind of fantasized about these two meeting at middleweight down the road. But now that he said he's moving down, all right, give him 2 fights at welterweight, and then let's get him and Chimaev, no matter where they are in their careers. I want.
Man, you want to know one guy I want to fight? I want to see Chimaev fight is Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's who I want to see him fight. But the way things are going, I'm like, Shavkat don't make a lot of noise. He doesn't. And no. I'm like, unless the stars align, those boys are not going to cross paths, especially with the
giant welterweights. Manon Fiorot, unanimous decision over Jara Maya. I thought this was a great performance. I thought her judo looked wonderful, on point.
Wonderful. She struck intelligently. She did everything right. Now that, like, it wasn't like a 30-27 or something.
Yeah, it was pretty dominant win for her.
I was like, good God Almighty! Like, I had a feeling that Maya was going to lose, mainly because, I mean, you got your title shot. You've been around, and it's just like, well, what do you do now? And you're up there. You're up there when it comes to age. You know, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and Manon, I believe it's Fiorot.
Fiorot.
I always say Fiorot, but I believe it's Fiorot. She's sneaky good, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's see, 4th win in the UFC now. Hasn't lost since her pro debut in 2018. She's got that judo background. I'm sure, you know, Joe Rogan was masturbating to all those front leg side kicks.
Oh, and you know Maya was tired of that. Like, he was tired. Them hands were coming down. Oh God,
they suck. I spar with some Taekwondo guys, and they throw that front leg side kick, and I'm like, fuck, stop it.
Let me tell you something.
Stop it.
I remember it was my second year training in Muay Thai, and they brought this guy in who had a black belt in Taekwondo and karate. And right when he went into his stance, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a problem. I'm about to get sidekicked, and I know I'm about to get sidekicked. And I kept thinking about it, and what do you know? Bam! One to the stomach. I'm like, oh, this is great. One more to the stomach. I'm like, he's going to aim high with that. And he did. He almost got me in the face. I'm like, okay, all right. Best way to deal with you, sidestep. But yeah, no, man, it's annoying, and it'll start hurting.
Yeah, it's very annoying, especially for someone like me, because I come from I wrestled for a long time before I started Muay Thai 10 something years ago. So my Muay Thai style evolved with a big base and catching kicks. Like if you throw a leg my way, I'm grabbing it because I'm a wrestler and that's what I know. And I got really good at catching front teeps. But the side kick, it makes it, because you're used to cupping the heel and snapping down, the side kick makes it harder to grab for some reason, and they're so quick in and out. So that would be frustrating for me.
That fencing.
You know, I would just have to close the distance and body lock them and you know, whatever happens after that happens.
Time to work. But yeah, no, definitely amazing performance.
Marc asked why Latifi and Oleinik was scrapped, and I completely forgot about that fight, even though I was very excited for it. Do you know the answer, Tavon?
I have no idea, actually. Let's find out.
All right, Marc, you're gonna have to let us know. Marc is like my young Jamie.
Oh yeah.
Like to say, Marc, I don't know how time zones work, but he's in Australia, and no matter what time of day the show is live, Marc is here, and I'm very appreciative of it. And he's usually like very good at providing me information that I lack because I do zero show prep besides pulling up the fight card. Let's just get this card out of the way. Mateusz Nicolau, unanimous decision over David Dvorak. This was a weird fight because Dvorak was just kind of stalking the whole time.
Yeah.
Nothing happened in the first round, like nothing. And then there were some leg entanglements in that second round, and then like I guess Nicolau won the third. So that was that. And then Luis Saldana, unanimous decision over Bruno Souza. Souza was able to hit some takedowns like fairly easily, but wasn't able to do a whole lot with them. And you know, that's how that fight went. I thought it was a great card overall. What I love about this card is how like a lot of things came full circle and were kind of intertwined. Like, you know, Curtis Blaydes not using the wrestling when he was anticipated to use the wrestling. Diakiese using wrestling and not tiring out, whereas Askarov using the wrestling and kind of fatiguing towards the end. Like, I love how like there was a nice ebb and flow to the martial arts storylines with this card and how it kind of all just fit together. But do you have any encompassing thoughts on this card as a whole?
Let me see. No, I enjoyed the card. Kind of to me, kind of like a slow start, but then everything just started to really get good. And I like, this is why I said it earlier, kind of when I said I don't really like betting on fights because anything can happen. And yeah, the way Diakiese won, I would not have put money down on that. I would not have put money down on that. I would have said, yeah, he wins, but probably knockout, outstriking. But no, I love it because.
Can you put a prop bet on grapple fucking?
If you can, yeah, is that possible?
If it's not, it should be.
Yeah, but yeah, no, definitely surprises. It was surprises all through the card, and even when it wasn't a surprise, it was just they were good fights. They were just good fights, you know. So
have you thought about who would win between Stipe and Curtis Blaydes?
Yeah, I thought about it. I think it would come down to a couple of things. If it isn't a grappling contest from at least the first to the third round, let's say if it was a 5-round fight, If it's not a grappling contest from the first to the third round, I think Stipe would take the first few rounds. I just believe he is the better striker. And yeah, I think he could stuff a lot of those takedowns. But like I said, if it does come down to the grappling in the first 3 rounds, I'll give it to Blaydes. But overall pick, I would pick Stipe as of right now. Overall pick.
Yeah, I think as far as wrestling credentials, they're like pretty similar.
Pretty similar. Yeah.
Curtis has used his wrestling more in MMA, but Stipe shows like it's there if he needs it.
Oh,
real quick, because I know you and I only caught bits and pieces of this, but one championship, one X. Angela Lee winning the main event, rear naked choke over Mount Stomp in round 2. Over
good old Stamp Fairtex.
I'm a fan of Fairtex.
I'm a really big fan of Fairtex. I really do like her style. She's ferocious and she's just adorable. It's like you're a freaking killer.
Yeah. I mean, both of them. To be fair.
Yeah, 100%. Now, with Angela Lee, I was thinking like, wait a minute, because did she have a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and she brought the kid in the cage after winning, which was she like had the kid in one hand and the belt in the other hand. It was a cool moment.
That's the funny thing, because normally when like that happens, when someone has a child, like I get really worried about their fight career, like after that, because it's like, okay, well, the first fight back is this going to be the same person, and then how are they gonna, first of all, being a parent, that's one thing, but you also had the kid, like literally had it, so
yeah, like
I just don't know what to expect. But no, she's a savage.
When my daughter was born, it was hard for me to get it back in the gym and like just roll jujitsu or just spar around her too. And I didn't give birth. Like my wife did all the work. I was just sympathy eating with her because she was one of these pregnant women who wanted pasta and fast food and pizza all the time. So I'm not going to sit there and eat a salad.
Yeah.
And let my wife suffer alone.
Yeah.
I'm going to, be with her in solidarity. So, I put on a lot of sympathy weight, but what's unfair about it is she got to lose 15 pounds off the bat, with all the amniotic fluid and placenta and, whatever else comes out of her, the kid,
everything, everything.
Whereas I'm like, wait a second, how do I drop these 30 pounds I've gained in the last 9 months? But yeah, I'm super impressed whenever women are able to give birth. And then Mackenzie Dern fought like 10 months after giving birth or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't even know if this is a good idea. And well, she wanted
and
to be
she had an easier time making weight than pre-baby. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like women are just baffling in every way. Like, physiologically, mentally, emotionally, like everything is just kind of like wired backwards where they're able to do things that they just shouldn't be able to. And, that's why they pretty much lead our society. All right. Mighty Mouse. Another rear naked choke. This one was nasty. This
man,
was so tight.
What's really funny is I think the MMA community had a general consensus, and even Chatri said it himself. He said either Rodtang's going to knock DJ out in the first round or DJ is going to submit him in the second. I thought that when the fight was announced, but I also thought Mighty Mouse ain't getting knocked out in the first round in a Muay Thai scenario. I don't think Rodtang's style is very, he's very durable. He'll mow you down. He will attack. But if you're smart, if you fight with the IQ of Demetrious Johnson, in that first round, there's no takedowns. In that first round, there's certain things that this guy is going to do. And then when it comes to Thai fighters, traditional Muay Thai is what you see is what you get. So I was thinking, well, if Rodtang does finish Demetrious Johnson, it's not going to be in the first round. I don't think his style, especially the way he starts fights, is going to be the type of style that can literally mow through and steamroll Mighty Mouse. So I was like, he's going to survive the first round. It's going to come down to, can Rodtang survive the second? And
because this was like a special rules fight.
Yeah,
also.
It was Muay Thai first round, MMA second round, supposed to be Muay Thai again third round, and fourth round MMA. So I just knew it was going to come down to the second round. Like, however Rodtang was going to respond to the grappling aspect, was going to determine the fight. And look, that's what happens. Yeah, that is what happens when.
Yeah, and like you said, the difference with Muay Thai is Muay Thai fighters traditionally, because they fight 5 times a week, the kind of gentleman's agreement is to take the first round off, and it's not illegal, but it's frowned upon to even throw elbows in the first round of a Muay Thai fight.
Yo, I forgot who it was. They were on Rogan's podcast, and he was saying like, yeah, I didn't know that they didn't, throw elbows in the first round, and I did. And after the first round was over, my coach came up to me and said, "You threw elbow in the first round. Now he angry you." Like, angry you. Like,
I can tell you who that was, because it was Marc Delagrati, who is the owner of Sityodtong Boston, which I train at MJM Muay Thai, which is the Sityodtong affiliate of the state of Florida. So I'm technically part of Marc Delagrati's lineage, and I'm a instructor under him, under his umbrella of schools. But yeah, that was him the first time he fought in Thailand at Lumpini Stadium, and he went and threw elbows in the first round because he didn't know like that was frowned upon. And it's that's just how it is, and that's why some Thai fighters struggle transitioning to MMA, because MMA is just so aggressive.
People will start at a 10. And you aren't about to do that. Like,
yeah. And that's the difference between fighting, 2-3 times a week and fighting, 2-3 times a year.
Yeah.
Which we do in MMA.
Like, yeah, you're more than likely going to deal with a bat out of hell. So it is what it is.
Speaking of bat out of hell, let's jump down this card a little bit. Yoshihiro Akiyama gets a TKO win over Shinya Aoki. This was a weird fight to come together, because both of these guys have been around since the Stone Age of MMA. Like, I feel like Aoki to me has always been one of those guys who was like one of the top fighters who never fought in the UFC.
Yep.
Like, he's just, I mean, if you've never seen Shinya Aoki fight, the dude is just phenomenal. Like, his ground game and his ability to snatch submissions like from awkward positions and use his long legs. And then Akiyama is another one who, a lot of people don't realize like what a stud this guy is, because his run in the UFC was kind of, lackluster. He had a couple of fights in there, but like it didn't reflect like his full body of work.
I mean, you got to look at who he fought in the UFC though. It's like, while he was there, he fought Michael Bisping, Vitor Belfort, Jake Shields. It's like, these aren't guys that you're going to look good against unless
Chris Lieben, Alan Belcher.
Like, yeah, like these aren't guys you're going to look good against unless you are like top of the food chain dude. So it was just hard. It's just hard and understandable. It's very understandable. And then it's like, you went to a decision with Bisping. Like, don't fight of the night. Is that? Look at that.
Yeah.
But but it's like, that's nothing to hang your head on. Hold on. Okay, when he fought Vitor, he lost via KO. Is that TRT Vitor?
Oh yeah, 2011.
yeah. That's Super Juice Vitor.
Oh yeah.
That's he had that I can't even call those traps. That's a whole different type of human being, Vitor.
Yeah, they were bear traps.
Yeah, no, man. Dude, you remember, man, I still can't believe they allowed Evander Holyfield to get in there with that, man. I still cannot believe that.
I mean, crazier things have happened.
Yeah, but yeah, no, like, man, Aoki is definitely phenomenal. Definitely. Yeah, Sexy Yama, man. Sexy Yama.
This fight didn't make much sense to me. Like, like Akiyama, I believe he has fought as high as heavyweight in his career.
Yeah, when the idea of the fight came about, and I was confused as to how in the blue hell they were going to make that happen anyway. Because I was like, isn't Akiyama big? Because I was like, he's big, and I'm like, Shinya Aoki's like my size.
Yeah, I feel like Aoki has fought most of his career at 55, and probably he's had fights at 45. He must have.
He's had fights at featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, and middleweight. But yeah, most of them were at lightweight. Yep. Yeah. Most were at lightweight.
You're talking about a guy with 57 pro fights at 38 years old. I thought he would have been way older.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy's been around forever.
I thought he'd be like 45. Like, no, this man has an MMA record that looks like a Muay Thai record. Like,
yeah, no joke. 2003 was his pro debut, and he kicked off his career with 3 submission wins in a row.
Look, the man is phenomenal. He's fought Eddie Alvarez. He's fought twice. Man. He's fought Edward Foliang 3 times. That's hilarious.
And Askren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I'm just like, you fought Ben Askren?
Yeah.
Oh, man. When you look at the names on Ben Askren's list, and I still feel like not a fool, but when he was coming to the UFC, I'm like, hey, the man's going to do work, but I feel like he's going to get hurt. And I really wish I did not say that because, did that happen?
Probably like one of the most bizarre UFC careers of all time.
Dude, his UFC debut. Here's the thing. You're coming to the UFC, you're undefeated. Everyone's like, okay, he rarely loses a round. This is a champion. So we got to put him in there with a killer. The first guy y'all put him in there with is Heihachi Mishima, which Robbie Lawler. I always call Robbie Lawler like I'm talking prime time Robbie Lawler, ready to take your head off. I call him Heihachi Mishima because what you see is what you get. This guy is not there to play around, and he might pile drive you, which is darn near what happened. When he had Ben on his shoulders and flipped that man the way he did, I'm like, that's John Cena's finishing move.
Yeah, it didn't look like it belonged in the UFC, and the
what is going on here?
It was just so awkward.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, look, Robbie is such a good guy. He was just like, what? Whatever, it is what it is. You know what? Let's just go ahead and move on. But yeah, no, that was definitely bizarre because, of course, the next fight is what made Masvidal who he is today. So,
yeah, fair point.
Yeah. Who else was on this card? I know there were a couple of fights. I know the flyweight title was up, right? What is his name? It isn't Moraes. Who is it? Scroll up a bit. Yeah, Adriano Moraes. I like him. And I knew it was going to end that way. I knew it. Sorry. Like, Yuya Wakamatsu is like the guy that could be champ in one, but he's there while Moraes, Demetrious Johnson, and like 2 other guys are there. If those guys did not exist, he'd probably be the champion.
Yeah. Which is weird because you see a lot of people saying like Demetrious Johnson is the best flyweight on the planet when he's fighting at bantamweight here at 1. Which for those who don't know, they have like hydration rules.
Tests. Yeah.
So
which is confusing to me because I'm like, how the heck does Moraes do that? Because he's pretty tall.
Yeah. How tall is he? Let's check it out.
See,
but he's 5'8", pretty tall for 135. But I like the hydration test. So for those who don't know, you have to weigh in, and then before you fight, you can't be above a certain weight. So like where some guys would fight, typically a 155-pound fighter on fight night after rehydration is going to be about 170, 172, somewhere in there. So some athletic commissions have it where you can't weigh higher than the weight class above. And some have, like, one does a hydration test. You have to be like a certain amount of hydrated, which then you get, some guys will have to cut weight like the day of the fight. And it's only like a pound or two, which you'll kind of sweat out just warming up in the back.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure you're not above like the weight class above. So it's weird, but I'm a fan of it.
Same.
I don't like cutting weight. I don't like, I got to lose 30 pounds so I could beat up somebody like smaller than me.
I remember the first time I heard about cutting weight, I think I was in like high school, and I had a friend who boxed, and he was doing a lot of cardio. I'm like, oh man, what you trying to lose weight, get in shape? He's like, oh yeah, man, got a fight coming up, and it's at whatever weight class it was. I'm like, you weigh that much? I'm like, you don't weigh that much. What are you talking about? He's like, oh no, what you do is, you do a lot more cardio. I wear the sauna suit, then, I go sweat it out, and then I get on the scale, and, the next day it is what it is. I'm like, I don't know if that sounds safe. And then I started, like, and that's before I knew anything about this stuff. And then I started, watching fights and seeing like how big of a deal this actually was. And then when especially once I started watching MMA, I'm like, yo, these guys look like death's door before the next day. And especially when Conor was at 45, I'm like, hold on, his eyeballs look like they're about to pop out of his head. What? This is legal?
Well, that was part due to the cocaine. To be fair.
Okay. Early, like you talking like after championship Conor, or are you talking like early Conor? Because I'm talking early Conor.
All right, it was crack then.
Oh yeah. The cocaine's a little different, costs a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Oh, specifically.
Yeah, but I was never big on weight cutting. When I wrestled in high school, I wrestled at 138. I walked around at like 141.
Yeah,
somewhere in there. Which now, if I was gonna make 138, I'd have to cut off both legs. But that's neither here nor there.
I can make it. I'm gonna look sick as hell though. Dude, I remember I was at when I was training, and I started training for my first smoker. One of my friends, he was there for a little longer than I was. He was like, okay, so what weight you coming in at? I was like, well, they told us not to cut weight, so I just put down I'd be like maybe 148 like at the time, because I was like, if I just decided to like not eat breakfast that morning, I was like 150 minus, like, so once I said that, the guy looked at me, he was like, oh yeah, no, I mean, considering your frame, if you really took it seriously, you could probably go down to flyweight. I'm like, no, the heck I couldn't. I was like, I would die. He was like, bantamweight? I'm like, I mean, yeah, but I'd still not look, I wouldn't look good, and I'd probably be falling over. Like the last time I weighed 139 pounds, I was extremely sick and I wasn't eating. Like, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not meant for me.
And how tall are you?
I don't know. I think I'm 5'9". Some say like, dude, you're 5'11". I'm like, I don't think so. I haven't measured myself in years.
That's a big jump.
I haven't measured myself in years. So I'm like, I don't know. So I'll say 5'10". I will say 5'10". No, that's not for me, man. Now, granted, we got Sean O'Malley, who's 6 foot tall, is bantamweight.
Yeah, well,
but he's also a slim human being.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm slim too, but
Well, speaking of his slim human beings, we don't have to get too deep into this, but we got UFC 273 coming up in a couple of weeks. I believe we have next week off from UFC, which is always fine with me.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are like, I need my UFC fix. I'm like, I need a break.
Yeah. Like, man, relax. Go for a walk in the park.
Yeah, I'm fine just watching some Disney Plus with my daughter on a Saturday night. But this card is awesome. And just to give you an idea of how awesome this card is, let's see, what's the fight I was looking at? The second fight on this card is Vince Pichel against Marc O. Madsen, the undefeated Marc O. Madsen, the Olympic silver medalist Marc O. Madsen. This is the second fight on the card. Like, what? What? This is crazy. Jairzinho Rosenstrike and Marcin Tybura are on the prelims. Like, this is a wild card. I love it. Chimaev and Burns. I'm so stoked for that fight.
Dude, oh man, I'm so torn on that. Because I'm like, I like the idea of the star power of Chimaev. I love it. But it's like Burns is doing this man a heck of a favor. He's doing this man a heck of a favor. Because in case Burns gets burned, Chimaev is probably going to be fighting for a title sooner than later.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's just like, wow, man. Like, I don't know. No, not that I don't know. Burns is a legit tough guy. He's a legit tough guy. He does not say no, and he knows what he wants, and he's willing to work for it. He's willing to put in those miles. He's willing to put in the punches, and he doesn't care who it's against. So I'm excited for it because this is definitely one of those. Okay, Burns is the real deal, period. You cannot take that away from him. Chimaev is the guy that is steamrolling all of these other people. We know he's good, but how good is he? And we're going to find out, period.
Yeah, I mean, Burns is a guy, like, we've seen him grapple heavyweights.
Yeah.
And, like, he's just a competitor, man. Like, if he's not fighting in the UFC, he's doing Abu Dhabi, he's doing Submission Underground, he's doing all this stuff. Like, he just wants to test himself, and you got to admire that about a guy. Kelvin Gastelum sneaking up on this card against Nasruddin Imavov.
Kelvin Gastelum looking to put them hands on him. I love it. I love it.
Is that a preview of your
No, so funny thing, I actually used that line before, and that one was actually freestyled because I didn't know what to say about, I forgot who he was fighting, but I was like, no, I'm always thinking of funny rhymes when it comes to his last name for some odd reason. I just think it's almost like a muse at this point. So I was just like, okay, Kelvin's coming up. Then I was like, oh, Kelvin Gastelum, looking to throw some hands at him, and I was like, all right, time to go. And I just kept rhyming.
That's it.
Oh man,
you gotta use it.
It's amazing. I love this fight. I love this fight. First of all, I love anytime Kelvin fights because it's like, you know, he's good. Sometimes you don't know whether it's going to be like that killer Kelvin where he comes out and he's kind of dancing on you. He got that head movement. That's another type of thing. He's going to box you up. He's going to wrestle. He's going to do everything. Or he might just get got, but he doesn't get beat unless you're top of the chain anyway, because he's top of the chain, to be honest, when he's on.
Yeah.
When he's on, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and it, you know, that's the key variable there. Some great female fights here. Aspen Ladd, Raquel Pennington stepping up on short notice.
Yes, indeed.
Mackenzie Dern and Tisha Torres.
Now I want to see this because Torres is about as complete as you could get. She is about as complete as you can get. And I just want to know if, well, first of all, don't go to that floor with Mackenzie. Just don't do it. But also, like, will Dern be able to keep up that pace? She's called the tiny tornado for a reason, and she is not going to stop. She is not going to stop. In order to beat her, you have to be able to beat her at whatever aspect you can implement, period.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's a great fight. No, this is stacked. This is a legit stack card. I am crazy excited. Aljo versus Piotr Jan. Finally, we're going to get this.
We got to put this one to bed. I'm so tired of it.
Yeah. And I know, like, there are some people who look at the fight like, well, we saw what was happening last time. Piotr was clearly going to win it, and then you got the other side. Well, Aljo, I saw that first round. He can beat him. It's like, yeah, he can't keep that pace up though. Aljo starts at a 10 all the time.
We'll see. I mean, it was unfortunate, and then everything that happened afterwards was unfortunate, and whoever is controlling Peter Jan's Twitter is unfortunate because it's just like, man, like, this is cringy. What are you
like? Can we just shut up and fight?
What are you doing, Ali?
Like, exactly. It's like, can we just shut up and fight? On top of that, I'm like, man, this couldn't have happened to, like, Aljo was the worst dude for that to happen to, because it put him in a position where he had to learn to embrace the idea that this is going on, and now he's talking like he's speaking in a certain way. I'm like, man, when he got the belt put around him, you can see he was kind of disappointed. And I posted on Twitter, it doesn't matter how you became the champ. What you need to do is come back and show these people why you deserve to be the champ. That is it. But also at the same time, if you're going to, all of a sudden come out and be like, man, whatever, and start talking crap, you should have done that from the get-go. You should have Ric Flaired the game. You should have Ric Flaired the game. Boom. Yeah, I'm the champ. Y'all saw what happened.
Yeah,
but
and then he kind of tried to do it, but like he kind of waited too long.
It's not who he is. It's not who he is.
And then it wasn't believable. And then he tried to lean into it more, and then it just made it worse.
Nope. What should have happened?
Jan's trash talk back, or whoever trash talks for Jan.
Yeah, because I don't think it's Jan. It's damn sure not Jan.
No, he's like, I landed in Vegas. Sterling's prayers have not been answered. Like, what?
Boo.
What?
Boo. I'm gonna tell you right now.
This is and Sterling was so cringeworthy through all of this that people were ignoring how cringy Jan was being about it. Because people are like, yeah, but he was beating that ass. It's like, yeah, but have you seen like the L's he's taken linguistically?
Yeah. It's terrible. This is terrible. But yeah, no, you're right. Finally, we could put it to rest. We could definitely put it to rest.
Wild. But I'm looking forward to this card. We got, it's on April 9th, so we got some time before as far as this show goes, we take a deep dive on this. So another reason I had you on today, I know, this show is largely under the influence of alcohol. I know you're a fan of the Final Ward.
Yeah, the Final Ward cocktail. I love it.
Which is, whiskey and chartreuse. Why don't you explain to the folks?
Whiskey, chartreuse. What are all the ingredients? Because it's based off of the Last Word cocktail, which is gin based. The first time I've ever had a Final Ward, I was in DC near the wharf where everything is expensive now. But there was a guy there. Let me go ahead and put up Final Ward. There was a guy there who he was the bartender for the evening, and he apparently would compete in like competitions, like to mix drinks and everything like that. And I'm like, what? And he was like, well, what kind of drink would you want? I'm like, I want something with a lemon flavor, but I'm a whiskey guy. He said, do you trust me? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? If you're gonna make it,
Aladdin.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm like,
I watch a lot of Disney.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, look, listen. So, side note, me being a musician, what I like to do sometimes is I'll play at nerd conventions. I played at MagFest earlier this year, which is a music and gaming festival that happens at the National Harbor in Maryland every year. One song that I decided to cover this year was "Be Prepared" from The Lion King.
Nice.
And I did it in a metal style, so it was unexpected, but people were like, wait a minute, is this the Scar song?
Do you have a recording of this?
Oh yes, I will link it to you right now.
Please.
I think you'll get a kick out of it. But the Final Ward cocktail, really good. It's normally rye whiskey based, which I'm getting into rye whiskey nowadays because I have friends that like work at distilleries, breweries, and stuff like that. So rye whiskey, chartreuse, what is it? Luxardo, Maraschino liqueur, and lemon juice. Yep.
Yeah, so it's on the sweeter side.
Yes, definitely on the sweeter side. Now I've had one. I can't say a bad one. What I'm going to say is I had one when I was in Louisiana, and I said Final Ward, and I think what happened is they still gave it to me with gin, so it looked like a Final Ward because it was yellow, but I was like, this does not taste like whiskey. I'm like, it's still a Last Word to a point.
Dude, gin is like drinking perfume,
bro. What? Let me tell you,
it's the one spirit I can't get down with.
I think I'm like one of those firm believers, not firm. I'm one of those believers where if your parents or your grandparents really liked something, you might not. And My grandmother loved gin.
Mm-hmm.
Loved gin. Like, even when I was younger, like, God rest her soul, I'm just like, why does she always have a big old bottle of Seagram's gin? And that was the first like alcohol I've ever smelled in my life. Like, I mean, you're a kid. I undid the thing. I'm like, hold on, something's not right here. I drank gin for the first time. I was like 23 years old when I drank it for the first time, and I said no. I said, if it's any alcohol, I'm just not gonna do it. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, definitely love the Final Ward. I love any type of almost said Manhattan. I do like the Manhattan cocktail, but old fashions are like my go-to whenever I go to any bar. That's like the first thing I get. Because if you can't make a decent old fashioned, I probably can't trust you to make anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah, it used to be. Go on.
I'm very particular about my Manhattans personally. Like, it's got to be black cherries. If that drink doesn't show up with a black cherry in it, I can no longer trust your ability to do anything right. If you put a maraschino cherry in a Manhattan, it's just wrong.
Nope.
Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, it's done wrong.
Oh my God.
I stand very firm on this.
Hey, I believe you. I believe you. Let me throw this thing in the chat so you can have it. Boop. And where's the send button? There we go. But yeah, no, definitely check that out, because I did Be Prepared, and the last MagFest I did a metal version of, this one's not recorded, but I did a metal version of Be a Man from Mulan.
Oh.
Yeah, I looked at the crowd and I'm like, okay, guys, I think if y'all are a 90s baby like me, I think you'll get what's going on here. And the moment I started the lyrics, everybody started throwing stuff in the air. People are, let's get down. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a good night, huh? All right. I thought I lost you guys for a second.
Everybody's ready to defeat the Hun.
I'm like, wow. I'm like, y'all are more excited about this than me. I was like, I'm glad I chose to finish with this.
I actually went to Disney on Ice yesterday.
Wow. I haven't done that since I was like 10.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's 4, so
there you go.
So we got a babysitter and left her at home, and we went to no.
Yo. That was a good time joke. I like that. Nice.
Hey, you gotta mix a little dad humor in, right? No, so it was. I'm usually always on the go, like every weekend. Like we're actually annual pass holders at Disney World because it's like an hour and change away. So we go for the weekend quite a bit, and we had nothing going on this weekend. We're usually traveling. My family's in New York. My wife has wanderlust up the wazoo, so she always is planning weekends away and this and that. So nothing going on this weekend. I'm like, great. We just chill at home. Cute, Bill. Real cute. Nice to think you would get some downtime. No, my wife, bless her soul, is Latina with, a fiery passion for most things and does not enjoy just like downtime. So she's like, oh, Disney on Ice is in town. So, we go into Tampa and, bring the kiddo, and it was a good time. Like she enjoyed it. It was a little long. Like my kid was like, after like an hour and a half, she's like, yeah, I'm good. Let's go. But, it's Disney. Like it's top level. I'm like waiting to see the guy in the Beast costume like fall, just like totally eat it. But no, they're all
it's not going to happen.
Like, how are you ice skating in that? Like, I almost fall down like carrying groceries in from my car. Like, what are you?
But you're wearing a whole suit that for some odd reason, it doesn't even look like it's balanced weight-wise. And here you are spinning around doing crazy stuff that I can't do sober. Like
doing a triple Lutz in an 80-pound Beast costume.
And then looking at the crowd, are you not entertained?
Yeah, and you're working for Disney, so you're making less than minimum wage somehow.
Yeah, you ain't getting what you should be getting.
Yeah. There's like 3 children inside that costume just standing on each other's shoulders like, oh, we got to spin this way.
Tim, come on. We need to eat tonight.
I don't know where we were going with any of that, but is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to get off your chest here?
Shoot, man. I don't know. We've been chatting for a minute. I don't normally like to throw out the whole, oh yeah, follow me on social media at Aeoxis and stuff like that.
Throw it out.
I guess, yeah, follow me on social media at Aeoxis. My next performance, if you are in the Maryland area specifically, will be April 16th. I'll probably just record it and everybody can see it and laugh at me. But April 16th in Frederick, Maryland, at a place called Cafe 611, I will be opening up for a band called I Set My Friends on Fire. So,
Okay.
yeah, I know, right? But
that sets the tone for the show, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun because I'm technically performing twice that night. Aeoxis, my solo project, is opening the show. The other band I'm playing with is Amongst the Triffids. Shout out to Amongst the Triffids, Cameron, Matt, love you guys. James, love you. And Have Heard Voices, love you guys. Purveyor, love you guys. What else is going on? Well, I'll just say stay tuned for more fun content, more MMA content. I'm actually, and I'll just announce it right now. With the Who You Got raps, I will be putting out prediction videos, but I'm also going to be putting out other raps where I rap back and forth between the personas or fighters, like what their skills are and everything. I'll be going from the perspective of one person and then rapping about their skills, and then kind of like a rap battle, but I'm like taking on the skills of the fighters I'm talking about. You'll see. It'll be fun.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to that. You guys should all definitely follow Tavon on social media and catch up with all of his prediction raps and everything else he's doing. The reason why I wanted to have you on the show, you've got this voice, man. It's like not just your rapping voice, but like your you got this Isaac Hayes. Like, it's like if Isaac Hayes and Busta Rhymes had like a voice baby.
Look, dude, like it's funny because I remember at my day job when I first started like working IT, I would show up, and when I would be like around the corner, people would, and talking to someone, people would look around because they're looking for like some 6'4" huge dude, like a bouncer type dude, right? So like I started realizing it was just a lot simpler for me to talk like this to people. Like it worked as, hey guys, you know, I'm Tavon McNeil, Tavon Anthony. My last name's actually McNeil. Anthony's my middle name. Just know that.
Okay.
But it's like, yeah, you know, I'm Tavon McNeil. How you doing? Whatever. But then I just started talking normally. And they're like, wait a minute, is that you or is this? I'm like, no, this is actually how I talk.
I have the opposite. Like people who know me in real life and then hear me on the podcast are like, oh, you have this podcast voice. And I never realized that I did it, but it's something about like, you know, put this in front of me. And like, even my wife is like, on the rare occasion that she listens to my podcast, she's like, I was listening to your podcast. It doesn't even sound like you. I'm like, oh,
hey, all right, man. Well, hey, look, it
is what it is.
Yeah, because both of like my older brothers, my oldest brother, he looks how he sounds because he's 6'3", bigger dude. So it's just like, oh, okay. My other brother, I have two brothers. I call him middle brother. His voice isn't all that deep, but he's not that big of a guy. So it's like, okay, this makes sense. Then with me, it's just, hey everyone. or I'll just come around and just be funny, just hi, and they're like, what the fuck?
I always enjoy those kinds of things, like hearing Mike Tyson talk.
Oh man, dude, I got a funny story. Not specifically about Mike. It's about a guy that sounds like Mike. So there is a fighter. There's a fighter. His name is Peter Petties. He apparently fought in the Contender Series not too long ago. And that's the guy that made my friend throw up in the cage. Now, I met him in person a couple years later. I was at a smoker event out in I think Bowie, Maryland, and he walked in, and I was like,
just for those not who don't come from up north, a smoker event is like an exhibition.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's not.
I noticed when I moved to Florida,
we ain't going high.
Like people didn't know what smokers were. And I was like, I would talk about it and like thinking it was a normal thing. I think it's like a Northeast thing.
Yeah, I think so too, because the first time I said smoker, my mother was just like, "So you're dealing with the weed now?" And I'm like,
lettuce.
I'm like, mother, no. Well, not much. Let me stop. but
not before the fight.
Yeah, no, man, what? But yeah, no, I saw him and I was like, yo, that's the dude that made my friend like throw up in the cage. And he's pretty jacked for his size, and he wasn't as intimidating as I remember him when I saw him in the cage, because he was a lot larger than my friend. But I walked up to him and I'm like, hey, dude, can you tell me your name? And he's like, Peter. I was like, get the fuck. I was expecting this dude to be like, yeah, man, my name Peter Petey's, and man, I'm just so strong. I don't know why I'm so strong. But no, the dude sounded just like Mike Tyson. I'm like, anybody with that voice is just a killer, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like that. So, like, nature has a way of balancing things out, I suppose.
Yeah, this is like, you can't have everything. You can't have everything. You can't be super dangerous and terrifying and have a terrifying voice. You can't do that. Fair. Oh, man.
All right, man. Well, usually I keep this show to an hour because I just find like
I'm so sorry.
That's when people no, this was good. We've had good conversation. That's why it's gone on. For everybody who's still with us here at the 2 hour and 10-minute mark, which is double our normal episode time. Thanks for hanging in there. If you want to grab some MMA on the Rocks merchandise, you could do so with our friends at Team Reaper. As always, I'll put the link in the show notes. Reaper1.co is the website. You can use the promo code MMA Rocks 10. That's MMA ROCKS10. Save yourself 10% off on your whole order, whether you are buying our merchandise or not. What you want to get, some training gloves or a new gi or whatever, a gear bag, whatever, throw that promo code on there. Save yourself some cash. Of course, I appreciate it if you buy our merchandise, but whatever, go buy what you want. It's your money. You earned it.
Buy the merchandise. Listen to the God voice. Buy the merchandise.
I'm using that. I'm gonna
go ahead. For it. Go for it. Sample it. I don't care. Go.
I'm clipping that up for sure. Tavon, thanks for joining me today. We should definitely do this again. This was a good time, good conversation. Enjoyed talking about the fights with you. Go follow him, Aeoxis, on social media. Figure out how to spell it. I'll put it in the show notes.
Aeoxis. Yes, indeed.
There we go.
Which is funny because Aeoxis is an acronym. I'm going to reveal what that acronym means when I drop my album. So have fun.
All right. Well, wait for the album. Until then, and until next time. Cheers, everybody. Goodbye.